No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. Although if those who are watching on the podcast didn't see me awkwardly try and reach for my Manitoba shirt, I should say, Ezzy. And good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm sitting in the host chair. My name, of course, Dave Minuk. He's my main man, Ezzy Ginsburg. He's currently in his basement, is the alternate studio we like to call it.
My very cold basement, by the way. I've got two heaters here, Dave, in the corner. I had to plug one of them in. Like, it's just free. Also, I don't know how the heat in my house got down to 67. I guess because it was a little bit nicer out. Naomi turned it down, but I had to put that right back up to 70 because this old River Heights house needs that heat right now. It's pretty cold out.
Well, all I know is that, I didn't know the state of the show. Drew went to see Cocaine Bear last night. You were at AEW Wrestling. I could only imagine the subjects that we were going to be discussing, of course, with the Jets playing the Bruins, and we didn't know how it was going to be. Of course, Phyllis is saying it's a Dave and Ezzy show tonight. That is what it is, Phyllis. So make sure you smash.
Sorry, Dave. I was going to say, we can get into AEW Dynamite. Last night went with Huss and Remus and our boy Benji Rothman, K Ballsy from True North. The Jets had an awesome time. I want to know though, if Drew went to Cocaine Bear, did he get a babysitter for that? Did he go by himself? I need to know the Cocaine Bear origin story.
Well, I'm not sure what the Cocaine Bear origin story was, but I thought Soul Bear, who sang the national anthems today, he did a great job. And as far as I am aware,
Soul Bear is way better than Cocaine Bear,
and has no relation to Cocaine Bear, as far as I am aware. So well done, Soul Bear. I thought he did a very nice job on the anthems. He usually does. And it wasn't, of course, a great start for the Winnipeg Jets against this juggernaut Bruins team. And I know the Bruins have hit a bit of a patch. They've lost their last couple of games to, I believe, Detroit and the Chicago Blackhawks. But as the Chicago Blackhawks are beating everyone, and I'm going to pull a Mandelism. Chicago Blackhawks did the Jets a favor by beating the Nashville Predators tonight. It was 2-0. I think the final score was 2-1. So the Jets, even though they didn't gain any space in the standings column, as they don't fall further, or they don't get the Nashville Predators getting a little closer to them.
Is Vegas going to beat Calgary though, because they're down 1-0?
They're down 1-0, but I don't think Calgary has a lot of success in Vegas. So we'll see how that one plays out. But
I don't know, Dave, if Calgary has any success anywhere.
That's a very good point, Ez. That is a very good point. But of course, we're here to talk about the Winnipeg Jets. They were in action tonight against the Boston Bruins. And Ez, before we even started the show, you and I were talking about just how good this Bruins team is, even though they are in a rough patch. And you said it. They have in a rough patch because they basically locked up the President's Trophy. They're the only team in the NHL with over 100 points. Their goal differential coming into tonight's game was plus 100. Like, that's insane. It's plus 103 if you're keeping track at home. But they're a juggernaut. And even when their guys...
Are empty net goals counted, by the way, in goal differential? They shouldn't be if they are.
Well, I believe they are. But the point is that the fact is, this is a Bruins team that even when their guys aren't going, and I said to you, I didn't really notice Brad Marchand. I didn't notice David Pastrnak. I didn't notice Krejci. Like a lot of these guys, he didn't really notice.
Because it was the second and third line and the fourth line even contributing, right? Like Garnett Hathaway. I love those. Like, we'll get into the goals, obviously. It might be the shortest Betway game recap ever, especially compared to 2 weeks ago when you guys had to break down 12 goals between the Jets and the Oilers. But good point. Love that Brendan Dillon, Garnett Hathaway. Like, that's an old school battle, right? Like, just two guys jockeying for position in front of the net. Brendan Dillon giving Hathaway the cross checks to the back. I know you've always liked Garnett Hathaway. Like, just think about, Dave, this team was already, like, they were all already on their way to winning the President's Trophy. And I'm getting the Colorado vibes from this team in terms of the pickups they made. Just they all worked out, right? Like with the Avalanche, Josh Manson, Arturi Lehkonen, right? The Bruins, Dmitry Orlov. We mentioned Garnett Hathaway, and then Tyler Bertuzzi, a guy who I mentioned a couple months back, I thought would be a great fit for the Jets. I have no idea if Chevy, talked to Steve Yzerman about Tyler Bertuzzi. We just don't know that at this point. But Bertuzzi just seems like, again, another player that just fits in. Like, you're not looking at this team and you're not saying that, this line isn't really that good. It's like that third line could be another team's second line, right?
Yes.
And they contributed tonight, right? Talking about Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, and Pavel Zacha.
Well, they contributed. Not only they contributed 50 seconds into the game, Ezzy, but I'm not going to ruin it because the reality is we don't have that many goals to go over. We've only got a few goals to get through tonight, Ez, so we don't want to spoil the Betway game recap before. But, look, this was a game that a lot has been said, a lot has been made of, Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor not speaking after the game in Carolina. The Jets coming off a successful road trip overall. Rick Bowness saying how he liked the Carolina game as the best game of the three that they played. Before we get into it, we should mention the news from today that veteran Jets forward Sam Gagner is done for the season. He had hip surgery earlier.
It's really unfortunate, Dave. Like it just a horrible way for a guy who came in on a 1-year contract and was scoring earlier in the season, but then he was a healthy scratch. So sorry, I just wanted to say that was just tough news for a guy. At least he got his 1,000th game in, and that was huge for him and his family. But yeah, it sucks as well because he's a good depth piece for the Jets.
Yeah, no, he has been he's a solid veteran addition. And, he knew that if he could get into games, great. And he played, I think 48 in total, had 8 goals, 6 assists for the Winnipeg Jets. And you mentioned it, Ezzy. I mean, he makes his 1,000th, NHL game, which is a huge milestone. It was a nice night. It was late December, I think against the Canucks. I think maybe I'm going to say December 19th, something like that against Vancouver. And of course, the Jets did a nice ceremony for him. So tough news for him. He had two of his 8 goals were game winners. Do you remember which games they were?
Absolutely
trivia.
Not. No.
First game of the year against the New York Rangers. He scored with about 4 minutes to go. I'm not doing this from memory, folks, just in case. I did look this stuff up earlier when I wrote the post on illegalcurve.com. And first game of 2023 against Calgary Flames, he had the game-winning goal. So he was clutch when he was needed. And again, you could see he didn't have the speed. And obviously something was bothering him. And Rick Bowness said the hips were bothering him and he had the surgery. I think it was, I don't know when he had the surgery on one hip, but now he's going to have the other one done in a couple of weeks, provided everything's good. So you wish him all the best. And, look, he could return for his 17th season, but, he's had a remarkable career, right? I mean, he's a guy who was a 6th overall pick of the Oilers back in 2007 and played 16 seasons.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
2006 or 2007, I think. And then played 16 seasons in the NHL, had to kind of reinvent the kind of player he was going to be, contributed a lot. And so good on him. And you wish him all the best. Now, getting back into the topic at hand. And, there were 2 things that we weren't sure about going into morning skate. Josh Morrissey, Pierre-Luc Dubois. And we thought based on the way Pierre-Luc Dubois on the line rushes went, and our friend Ken Wiebe of Sportsnet and Kenny and Rennie talked about it. And it looked like Pierre-Luc Dubois, he took line rushes as if he was going to be playing in the game. After the game, Rick Bowness said, not quite. And originally the thought was, well, maybe he stayed on extra, he'd be a game time. But Rick Bowness said, no, we're not going to play him in this game. We're going to hold him out. So you wonder what's going on with Pierre-Luc Dubois. I believe he's missed now, 8 of the last 9 Jets games. Obviously he had that injury, played the 1, and now he's missed the last few. So tough news for him for the Jets because they could use the depth. They could use his scoring.
I do remember which game that Dubois came back for. It was the San Jose game. I might not be able to tell you that Sam Gagner scored the game-winning goal back in October, Dave, against the Rangers, but I do remember that. And just continuing on what you were talking about, you hope, obviously, that, he's ready to go for these 2 Central Division games on the weekend, right, against Nashville and St. Louis. But not just for that, but you want him back for the stretch drive, right? Like you said, I mean, the Jets lose tonight clean, but so far nobody's picked up any points, right? And the Calgary Vegas game's a late game, so we'll see what happens with that. Most likely, as Dom Zappia in the chat was pointing out, I mean, that's most likely going to go to overtime, just because that's what the Flames do, right? What do they have? I think 14,
it's like crazy, 13 or 14.
Yeah, just crazy. The Jets have 3. By comparison, right? So you're almost 5 times more overtime / shootout losses, right? So most likely the Golden Knights are going to score, and that'll be a 1-goal game because that's what the Flames do, right? But you need Dubois up the middle, right? Like Nemestikov has filled in admirably.
Yeah. But
I mean, he's just he can't do what Pierre-Luc Dubois can do.
That's right.
And I thought Josh Morrissey was great tonight. We'll get into it more here, but I thought he was solid. And right before we came on, I said to you, Brendan Dillon, Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast was isolating Dillon, and I mentioned Dillon and Garnett Hathaway having those good battles, but I just thought he was good just overall in all situations, whether he was out there at even strength or on the PK, because obviously he doesn't play on the power play. So yeah, I mean, look, the Jets put a lot of rubber on Jeremy Swayman. Swayman's an excellent goaltender. He had his breakout year last year for the Bruins. Obviously, Linus Ullmark is their number one goalie, but the Ullmark Swayman 1-2 combo is phenomenal.
Unbelievable. It's an unbelievable punch. It's so, and everyone, and in fact, some of the Boston guys that we follow were wondering, because Ullmark's had a little bit of a letdown, of course, giving up 6 against the Hawks. They weren't certain if it was going to be Ullmark or Swayman, but you're right, Ezzy. That just goes to, it's a testament to, something that I'm sure folks in Winnipeg wish that the Jets had, which was a 1-2 punch that was dynamic and you could really rely on either guy, and of course, that's just not the reality here in Winnipeg. You have Connor Hellebuck being the guy who gets the lion's share of the starts, but it certainly is a testament to that Bruins organization that they've had such good goaltending, such consistent goaltending, and Ullmark's become the guy, but they really do run that sort of, I can't remember what the exact number is, but that Swayman's played, I think, is he like 30 games? Or maybe not
something
that many.
Like that.
But,
yeah, I could look it up. I think he has something like 17 wins now, 16 wins, right?
Yeah, so, I think it's like he's played probably 25, 30 games, I think, and Ullmark's probably, a little bit more. But
it's exactly what you want, honestly, out of a backup, right? Like we've talked about this so many times. Most teams don't have a Connor Hellebuck, right? Like
no,
it seems like every as of late the Jets are running into a lot of hot goaltenders, but most goaltenders nowadays don't play 60 plus games. Like it's just not the reality. It's not the early 2000s with Marty Brodeur and Curtis Joseph and these types of goalies, right? Dominic Hasek. So yeah, they're just, the Bruins are as close to a perfect team, I think, that exists right now in the NHL. And that's not a guarantee, Dave, because me and you talk about this all the time, right? The craziest thing, the can't predict puck element of hockey is you go back to that 60 win Tampa Bay Lightning season. I think was that 2018-19, I believe. And they get knocked out in the first round. And not only do they get knocked out, they get swept by the Blue Jackets, right? So Boston's going to end up playing, a decent team, but they're not going to be facing a team that anybody is going to, I think, pick in the first round, right? Like you're talking about Pittsburgh, you're talking about the Islanders. I guess, I don't know if Buffalo's still in it anymore, but, the Sabres, I just don't think any of those teams are going to be able to take the Bruins in a 7-game series. But if you get the goaltending, that's what the caveat always is, right? If you can get a hot goaltender and you can win the first game or first 2 games of a series. But I just think, Dave, this Bruins team, like, if you're asking me, I think, they go to the Eastern Conference Finals at least, especially with, Bertuzzi, Orlov, Hathaway, the additions they made.
Yeah. And that those, you're right, Ezzy, you're right. You're absolutely right. The only thing I was going to say, that the thing that it kind of reminded me of was the, and I was going to, I figured you'd like this because it's the Devils reference, but it's kind of like when the Devils faced the Red Wings. Was that in 95?
Sorry, Dave, just as an aside, something's happening on your TV there. Like the channel just changed or something. It was the fire.
No, we're all good.
Was that you doing that?
No, it's all good. There was a ghost in the system.
Okay.
I tried not to draw attention to it, but as he, of course, likes to, he can't. He's like a little puppy.
No. But I think
tail starts wagging, folks.
It definitely starts wagging. But I feel like now when you're watching hockey with the digital ads, like now your eyes are like,
get me started.
It's brutal. Every time Gary Bettman says that, it's going
fans
great.
Like it.
I haven't talked to one fan. First off, nobody cares. That's the whole thing. Like nobody watches. Nobody watches hockey for the rink ads. You know what I mean? Like nobody cares. Everybody already knows about Budweiser. Budweiser doesn't need to advertise
unless it's Betway. Then we love it. Then we're totally fine with it.
Yeah. Betway has the best ads in the league.
Well, it's funny because I was watching the Timberwolves game yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, Betway there, Betway there, Betway there." I'm like, but no, I mean, look, it is funny to me how like you try and sell that as if people don't notice. It's like it's terrible, and nobody likes it. Anywho, let's get into it, Ezzy, because we've had a nice little preamble here, but it's time to start that little thing called the recap, and that Betway game recap is brought to you, no surprise, by Betway. They're one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world, including Minnesota. Betway is a sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, Ezzy, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Well, it didn't take long, Mr. Ginsburg, for this game to fall off the rails a little bit. Now, I will say, and before we even get into the goal, what happened in the first minute of that hockey game, lots, lots, lots of Bruins fans were in the building.
Always.
But I was a little bit later than usual, and I'm walking through. I talked to Kathy and Don at security, said hello to them, of course. Don and I had a nice chat. And then as I'm walking, making my way to the press box elevators, there are tons of Bruins fans. And I know Original Six, but I was blown away at how many Bruins fans there were in the building. And I know there's always lots.
Fans, Dave, are almost, I don't know if you could put them up there with the Leafs and Habs, but they're close. If they're not
probably
right
they're probably in the Hawks realm.
And we always mention another team that seems to always surprise people with the amount of jerseys is the Flyers.
Yes.
Who, of course, aren't an original.
You're Bobby Clark, though.
Yeah, exactly. Reggie Leach. There's a lot of connections. Hextall to the province of Manitoba, right? But the Bruins, there's always hundreds. I don't know if there's thousands, but there's definitely hundreds.
It felt like at least, honestly, I want to say at least 1,000. I felt like, although they didn't have the same atmosphere, I thought the Bruins fans would be a little more animated. And they didn't have to wait long in order to cheer the first goal, because it was a quick one for Boston. Just 50 seconds into this hockey game, Nate Schmidt and Kyle Connor take one Bruin, and that leaves Trent Frederick alone. And the Tyler Bertuzzi, who you mentioned, Ezzy, he feeds him the puck, and Connor Hellebuck doesn't have much of a chance to open the scoring quickly in favor of Boston.
Yeah, I mean, and it was kind of like you're watching the game and you're like, is this like the game from a couple of weeks back against the Avalanche when Nathan McKinnon scored, what was that, 15, 16 seconds into the game? Yeah. Obviously, this goal is much different because it's not a breakaway. It comes from down low, like you mentioned, Charlie Coyle. But Craig Button mentioned this during the first intermission. What's Mark Scheifele doing here? Mm-hmm. Like, he's standing there. He's got his head a bit on a swivel. He's looking around, but he doesn't pick Trent Frederick up. And I actually misspoke earlier. The line is Trent Frederick, Charlie Coyle, and Tyler Bertuzzi. Zach is actually on the second line, Dave.
Yeah.
And as a Devils fan, I don't really love how well he's doing. But a couple of years ago, he scored 17 goals. So he's always been a good player. But this year, he's by far having his best season. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, he's playing with David Krejci and he's putting up these numbers, right? So Zach is a good player, but would have been nice if he did a little more of that when he was a Devil. But yeah, on this goal, I mean, it's just bad defensive coverage, right? Like, it's early in the game. The third line is out there. Coyle's a good player. I mean, this is a guy who, Jets fans remember when he was the Wild, right? It's just too easy for Frederick. He just goes right down Main Street, takes the pass from Coyle. Hellebuck, I don't think has much of a chance on that one. But Scheifele's defensive coverage, if somebody in the chat knows what he was doing there, aside from just kind of looking around and not taking anybody, then let me know.
Well, and it's funny because it's one of those deflating goals to give up, right? I mean, you're only home for the one game, and the Jets have this very unusual schedule, and I know their schedule is supposed to get a little bit easier. One of the guys, I don't remember who did it, was Adam Lutishin, Ezzy, who did the strength of schedule of the remaining schedule, and the Jets have, I think, the 8th easiest schedule remaining of the teams in the NHL. The Predators actually have, I think, the 30th. They have one of the hardest. I think it's first or second hardest remaining schedule, which is why the Jets are predicted to finish ahead of them ultimately, even though Nashville has so many games in hand. But I think
you've got to do things with those games in hand, right? And like you said, Dave, the Predators don't have an easy last 14 or 15 games, whereas the Jets' schedule is going to start to get easier here.
Well, and just think about how much more important that game on Saturday would have been had Nashville won tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks and only been 2 points back with games in hand on the Winnipeg Jets. They don't now. They'll remain 4 back of Winnipeg. But it's one of those situations where the Jets are getting their chances. I mean, they weren't dominated, and the one thing that, again, and we've been talking about this, and you gotta wonder. And I know that Brad Lauer is, not necessarily on the ice. Eric Dubois is still with the team. Brad Lauer's been on the bench with the team, but you've got to figure out something to do on the power play, because I know, look, now, first of all, Boston has the number 1 penalty kill in the NHL. The Jets have the second or third best penalty kill. The Bruins have the best penalty kill. So you understand that Boston is a tough, team to get. And they had some chances on the power play. but I think it was 3 power plays in the first period alone. I know the last one came with 22 seconds in the period, so that's a carryover one. But the Jets really just, I mean, that's your advantage, like that's what they call it, a power play man advantage. And so if you're not taking advantage of it, it's going to leave you light. And in fact, it was the Bruins who had a really good chance shorthanded and didn't score on that, but of course scored shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and you're right, Dave. It's like one of those games where you can't point to the lack of power play opportunities or the lack of even strength scoring chances in this game, right? Like they had tons. And the penalty that stands out to me, the power play, I guess, that stands out to me is after Orlov took the tripping penalty on Stenlund, kind of towards the end of the third period, past the midway mark. I thought, the Jets were moving the puck really well. And, Nito Niederreiter has really been a fantastic addition to the power play and the team as well.
Yes.
But, Connor was shooting the puck. Scheifele was having chances. We talked about, Morrissey making his return to the lineup. He was fine on the power play, getting pucks through, everything like that. But again, it's that, so close, but so far. Right.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're not producing on the power play and, it looks good, but there's no results. So, it's deflating, right? Like you had chances that first period. I mean, it wasn't dominated by the Jets, but they definitely had, their fair share of shots and scoring chances and everything like that. But then you're down a goal and you have nothing to show for it. And how many times have we seen that recently? And when you're playing a team like the Bruins, who's a great defensive team, like we talked about all the, Marchand and Pasternak and, Bergeron, Krejci, DeBrusk, that defense was arguably the best defense in the league. And that was before they got Orlov.
Right.
Like Charlie McAvoy, I've always liked Mac Grzelcyk, like Brandon Carlo. He was around. I think he was around the last time they won the cup, if I'm not mistaken. He was like 19 or 20 at the time. But Hampus Lindholm is the other guy I forgot there in their top 4. Lindholm is a really solid player. Like it's going to be a hard team to beat in the playoffs, Dave. But the Jets did go toe to toe, and it was a 2-0 game for the majority of this game. But the only thing there was the elusive, goal. And, we saw, Nate Schmidt, right? He hit the post or crossbar. Yeah. I think Kyle Connor not too long after hit the post, right? So it's just been so hard in the second half of this season for the Jets to score goals. And it would be one thing if they weren't, putting themselves in positions to score, but they are. They're just not getting, the goal scoring. Their shooting percentage at times, it's hilarious that with all the grade A chances they're getting, they're not scoring more goals.
Right. And that's part of the reality right now. And Rick Bowness addressed that in his comments today, I believe, where he basically said, look, we like the chances that we're getting, but they're not going in. Hockey's a game that if you keep doing the right thing, eventually it's going to go in for you. But right now that's not their reality. And probably no player is that emblematic more of than Kyle Connor, because I mean,
there was 30 shots on net tonight. Like it's just incredible.
Like that. But not only that, is like he had a play. There was a play in the first period where Mark Scheifele's behind the net and he sets up Kyle Connor, who's right in front of Swayman, and Kyle Connor scores that goal 9.5 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, this was the halftime he didn't, because he doesn't score. And it just seems like right now, as you said, he hit the post. I mean, there's a lot of, he's putting himself into the right spot, which is a good thing. And he's getting the chances, which is a good thing. It's just, Kyle Connor it's almost like the first, what was it, 14 games of the season when Kyle Connor had 2 goals, one of which was an empty net goal. So, Kyle Connor is a goal scorer. He has an opportunity. He'll get out of it eventually. It's just not going right. It's not going well for him. And it wasn't going well for the Jets power play. And that's, it comes back the other way. The Bruins take a shorthanded, run at Hellebuck, don't score. I think they rang it off the post. I don't remember who it was, Ezzy.
I think it was Garnett Hathaway.
I think it was Hathaway. And then shortly after that, suddenly your boy Pavel Zacha, when the Jets don't really take control of the puck, what happens? Zacha goes the other way. He beats Connor Hellebuck. I thought like Hellebuck was beaten fairly clean. Like I didn't think Schmidt's stick tipped this puck home. I think that Hellebuck was just beat clean. It was a good shot, but I think you could see from Hellebuck's reaction, he thought that puck went wide. He didn't think it was actually going to go over his. What did you see from that goal?
Well, first off, I mean, you can't not talk about Ehlers and turning the puck over there, right? Like,
yep.
In the Bruins.
Well, technically, I just did, but I was going to leave that for you.
No, but I was going to just start with that, right? Like, a lot of people, a lot of people on Twitter, at least, shouldn't say a lot of people on Twitter that I saw.
You just pull a Donald Trump. A lot of people are talking.
Well, I mean, look, it's a shot glove side top corner. Pavel Zacha has 18 goals. He's a goal scorer. He's got a good shot. This is like a legitimate NHL goal scorer. So it's not like, he was beat by a little flutter puck, right, Dave?
Yeah.
So, but, I guess what I, continue to be focused on is, Ehlers just, I mean, he comes in with some decent speed and he just kind of flips a little backhand. It's Nemesnikov that he's trying to get the puck to. I'm not sure if it was Charlie McAvoy who broke up the play there and got it up to Zacha. Hold on, let me check here, Dave. Who got the assist on the goal here? I guess it was Orlov. Carlo and Orlov were the D pair, right? They got the points on the assist on the goal. But it was just like, it's too casual. And when you're fighting for your playoff lives, and don't get me wrong, I really strongly believe the Jets will make the playoffs, as you mentioned. Like Nashville and Calgary, I mean, they're still within striking distance, but I just think the Jets are going to hang on. That's just my own personal opinion. We'll see what happens. But the point is, you're in a playoff race here. Like, you're not in second in the Central. You don't have a cushion that you had a month ago. You just can't make that type of play. It's just too casual, and it results in a turnover. And the actual shot itself, I mean, again, could Hellebuck have stopped that? Sure, he could stop all of these shots, right? But it's a beautiful shot by Zacha. So again, even though that's one that you could point to as a stoppable shot by Hellebuck, I think it's bad puck management again by Ehlers there.
And it's like Kenny's water bottle talked about the Jets making miscues, as he said. And I mean, actually, he might not have used the word miscues. I will use the word miscues because it's just these small mistakes. And look, we saw it with Carolina. We saw it with these good teams. And, one of the questions that Rick Bowness was asked today during his media availability was about this idea of, do these better teams force your team to play a little bit better, a little bit tighter? Because they know that one mistake ends up in the back of your net. Like, it's not like you're playing a Chicago. Although, I mean, I don't want to malign Chicago. It looks like they're gonna go on a run. They don't want Bedard anymore.
They're giant killers.
Yeah, they're like, we're just gonna beat everyone. Forget it. We're gonna call up the entire Rockford Ice Hogs roster, and we're gonna keep rolling and keep winning. But no, I mean, look, that against a team like Boston, like you said, you make a mistake like that, and it ends up in the back of your net. If you're just slightly casual. And look, Connor Hellebuck had to make some saves, and they got lucky. We talk about the Jets hitting the post or the crossbar. The Bruins also did, right? So, I mean, both teams had opportunities. There was a play where, who was it, Ezzy, when Hellebuck had to come out and challenge in the second period, and he shot. Was it Zacha maybe again? No, because Zacha's a right shot.
David Pasternak had a really good chance in the third period when they had the power play, and the Zacha chance. It's possible I missed that one, Dave, but.
I'm just saying that
Hellebuck didn't face a lot of rubber, but yeah, he was solid. I mean, like, he only let in 2 goals. He gave, put it this way, he gave the Jets a chance to win tonight.
Yeah, and again, like I said, right now the Jets have a few things. They're making some mistakes that are ending up in the back of their net, and they're not scoring goals. And the goal scoring right now is more concerning than the occasional miscue, because the occasional miscue you can overcome if you can score some goals.
Right.
And right now the Jets can't score goals.
And that's where not having Dubois in the lineup, not having Perfetti in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, I realize we've known Perfetti is going to be out for a while now.
Yep.
But Dubois' absence is missed big time. And you're not going to blame, not having Dubois in the lineup on why you didn't win, right? Like, they were a big underdog. The Bruins are a great team. Like, the Jets needed to play, almost a perfect game to most teams. Like, what have they lost? 10 games all year, the Bruins? We talked about it. They've already got well over 100
points. 9. Right? Oh, no, you're right. No. I think you're right.
Because
I think it's because I forgot about the
like the Winnipeg Ice. The Ice and the Bruins have very similar records, right? Just completely dominant.
The Winnipeg Ice only have 9 losses, Ezzy. That I know.
Yes, which is remarkable, right? So, I feel like we're a broken record. It's still talking about the same things, that the Jets, the process was good, and the power play looked good, and certain lines were looking good. Like, I didn't think, Wheeler, Nemesnikov, Ehlers had a great game 5-on-5. Like, obviously, Scheifele, Connor, Niederreiter, they were much better. After being benched in the second period, they responded. And Connor was a guy that was isolated on the broadcast by Kevin Sawyer, talking about how he's back checking and how he was working and everything like that. Like, this was honestly one of Connor's best games of the year, I thought.
Well, and thank you, Colby, our faithful photographer. 51, 11, and 5. I mean, that is a juggernaut of a Bruins
Hold
team.
on a
Again,
second, though. Hold on a second.
What?
It's the same backwards.
Oh, very well. Technically, isn't there an extra one though?
Where? 51, 11, and 5 is the same backwards. It's like kayak.
You know what I call that? A guy whose dad was a retired math professor at the University of Winnipeg. That's what I call that.
A man, a plan. What was it? A canal, Panama? Something like that. Remember that one?
No.
You have no idea what I'm talking about right
Absolutely
now.
Not.
Same thing backwards.
Woo! No, I understood. I knew where you're going, but I've never heard that one before.
Let's go race car.
Look, someone just said, Ezzy, hold on. We got some other news here. We got some breaking news. Very breaking news. Bailey, I appreciate the quotes. We'll get to that in a second. But T-Shu has something to say. The Toque arrived. Thanks very much, gentlemen. So T-Shu, hopefully T-Shu won't need a T-Shu or a Tough Duck Toque for too much longer, because we're hoping that the weather is going to start to get a little bit nicer. But that Tough Duck Toque is still going to come in handy. My dad has a Tough Duck Toque. It's a Moose Tough Duck Toque, actually.
Right on.
But he wears his faithfully, loves it. And again, everyone who seems to receive a Tough Duck Toque for the hardest hitting comment, they seem to love it.
It's such good quality clothing, right? And I have to say, it brings me so much joy to be able to provide Manitobans and people abroad, because we've sent them out to Minnesota, Colorado, North Dakota, Colorado. I don't know if we've sent them any further than Colorado. That's probably the
I think
farthest.
Colorado was the farthest.
Yeah, we haven't gone outside of North America yet, but maybe in the future. But it's always good to provide people with some warmth on their head.
We appreciate that. And we appreciate everything that you guys do to keep this chat rolling, which is smashing that like button, hitting the subscribe button. Remember, if you're watching this video on YouTube, we want you to be a subscriber, not just a watcher, but a subscriber. So even if you don't have an account, you don't have to comment. We don't insist. We love when people comment. The chat is, Ezzy and I love talking to each other. When Mindell's here, not so much. So that's when we focus more on the chat. But the fact of the matter is, even if you don't want to chat, get an account. Make sure you're subscribing. Let's get the IC account to 5K. That's the goal here. If playoffs happen, folks, remember the chat gets wild. Chat gets wild. So smash the like button and make sure you drop a comment on the podcast. Drop a comment on this. We appreciate that. It's makes everything we do each and every day to bring you guys Jets, Moose, and Ice news. And I'm gonna bring some more Ice news. I got a little insight from the hockey maven, we call him. His name is Richard Lapp. He writes books on the WHL. He's often at Jets and Moose games.
I actually think I have one of those books down here.
Well, then you can look for that.
Somewhere.
But I was gonna say, Richard told me today. I often talk to Richard when I'm at the Jets and Moose games, and Richard told me that if the Winnipeg Ice win their 5 remaining games, they have 53 wins. They win their 5 remaining games. They will, of course, my math being not John Ginsburg style, but 58 wins, which would tie them with the Brandon Wheat Kings, the 78-79 Brandon Wheat Kings for the most wins in a WHL season. And that was back when they played 72 games. Now they only play 68. So it would be a remarkable accomplishment if they can get close to that. And right now they're tied with what they set last year, 53 wins. So they're going for win number 54, I believe, on Saturday against Prince Albert. They've got 2 games upcoming against Prince Albert. They beat the Raiders in Prince Albert, and now they're going to play Prince Albert once again, Ezzy. So we'll see.
The fire's gone again. That's what's tripping me out, Dave.
Hey, okay.
Is that you doing that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little error. I'm on the
screensaver. What's happening? It's throwing me off, Dave.
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about the Moose 2, folks.
The fire going. We need it. It's cold.
I'm trying to keep the fires burning. We're trying to keep
too cold for middle of March. Like the snow should be gone by now. Like it's enough.
I know people want to start planting their seeds. Although I was told by the people at Chelmerdines not to start my seeds for a little bit longer, because you want to start your seeds closer to May. So that person actually.
You have a lot of hostas that you want to populate on the.
No, I'm a vegetable guy. Come on, tomatoes.
Oh yeah,
tomato guy.
Yeah,
maybe some
planting vegetables is tons of fun.
There you go. So we're not going to turn this into the illegal gardening show. Don't worry, folks. But there weren't that many more goals to discuss. There's only one. We're not going to discuss, of course, an empty netter But what
it was a beautiful empty netter. Thomas Nosek. I mean, he's got to be one of the best empty netter specialists in the league.
Well, all I know is that hold on, Ezzy. Who is the? But hold on, Mr. Agfa 100. You might be farther than Denver, but have you won a Tough Duck Toque? We're not saying people who aren't farther. John Chan wins that award because John
Chan's in Singapore.
Yeah, so John Chan is the farthest.
Yeah, you can't top that. Singapore's pretty much as far away from Manitoba as you can get.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody watches Australia, but Singapore is just a little bit north.
Maybe Argentina. That'd be a far distance.
We have some viewers in Argentina. I didn't know.
No, I'm saying that if someone is in Argentina, then especially at the southern point, maybe that they would be quite a distance. I haven't calculated. Someone in the chat hopefully can calculate Singapore to Winnipeg, and then Winnipeg to Argentina, and we'll figure out where
is Mr. Agfa 100 from? Because I didn't see where he.
Well, his chat was. I think he's farther than he or she is farther from Denver. Maul's in River Heights.
Well, I think it's a he, Dave, because it's Mr. Agfa 100.
Well, is he? We don't know that.
Well, maybe not, but
so we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
We're not going to make that. We're going to make that assessment on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Yes, it is thrilling. This is thrilling stuff. Well, when the game is 2-0 for 90% of it, there's not a lot to talk about. But as I was going to say, Tishu's changing his profile picture. But what was something else is there anything else that jumped out at you? And the second period was. It wasn't a bad period. I mean, again, things happened throughout the course of this game. The Jets did have a lot of chances, but again, Swayman was excellent in net, and their power play came up.
2-1 Vegas. See, there you go. Calgary doesn't like to lead games for long.
There you go. Yeah,
Vegas is going to win that Pacific. Do you agree with that, Dave?
Oh yeah, I think. Well, I think.
I think Edmonton might give them. Edmonton and LA might give them a little run, but
Ezra, they don't. Mr. Agfa 100 does not want you to assume his or her gender. So let's.
Oh, I'm not assuming my gender. I just want to know where Mr. Agfa 100 lives. I'm curious.
Well, we go.
We welcome viewers from all across our great continent and the globe.
Yeah, everywhere. We're as he's Mr. International, and we are also an international show. So.
I'm Mr. Don't go too far away from River Heights, Manitoba. That's who I am.
Kenny's water bottle says you're big in Japan. True or false?
Yeah, I get it. Because the average height's a little bit lower than North America, right? Maybe. So I'm 5'9" isn't that bad in Japan. Yeah. Not that I need to feel tall. Like I don't know.
Yeah. You don't have short man syndrome.
No. 5'9" is kind of average, a little bit below average height.
Yeah. Yeah.
Size doesn't matter, Dave.
Size doesn't matter. All right. Well, let's keep rolling, Ezzy. I mean, look, the reality is the Jets needed to get some goals. And, I just saw Bailey, the official Illegal Curve intern, put up a quote from Brendan Dillon. We appreciate Bailey doing that. We couldn't bury our chances. We were right there. We knew them being the top team in the league. It was going to be a good test for us. And look, I think you're right. I think Brendan Dillon has had a couple of excellent games. Well, I mean, I think he's been good all season, but I think he's been really, good. And I think, I think it's just remarkable. I mean, look, they honored him for, I don't know if they showed it during in the first period, if they showed it during the commercial break, but they honored him for playing in his 800th NHL game. I mean, this is a guy who went undrafted. And I always say, like, to me, it's always, and I talked about it on the last show, so I won't soliloquy this one too much, but it really is a testament to all the guys who don't get drafted and make it to the NHL, and play 800 games in the NHL is now 801. It's a substantial mark. And it's just remarkable that Brendan Dillon has done it and has been able to make such an impact on this Jets team and become such an integral part of this Jets club. As you're muted.
Absolutely. I would. Yeah, sorry. I was going through. I was going through natural stat trick here, just to see if the eye test matched up. And Brendan Dillon was Corsi 4 percentage at even strength was 57, I believe. Here, hold on. Yeah, he was 57. Look, he is exactly what you want in a top 4 defenseman. I think you're not going to get 20 goals and 50 points from Brendan Dillon. You're going to get limited offense. But he is an old school. I talked about it. Like, he's a big defenseman who can throw the weight around, drop the gloves, but he can skate really well. Like a guy that, I hate to bring it always back to the Devils, but he's a guy that reminds me, like, for people in the chat, remember Colin White, who was a tough defenseman from Newfoundland. Like they had, or Nova Scotia, one of the two, Scott Niedermayer, Scott Stevens, Brian Rafalski. Yeah, I mean, those were your, top defensemen, but you needed to have, the Kenny Danicos and the Tommy Albelines and the Colin Whites, right? And that's the type of defenseman. He's underrated. He goes under the radar, but he rarely makes bad plays, right? Yeah. Like, we're often critical, of players, making turnovers, but, he's just a really solid defenseman. And, he's a guy that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets signed to another contract when his current contract's up, to be honest with you.
Well, and one other player, and we'll finish off this game recap soon, but like the one other player that probably merits highlighting is Dillon Samberg. I mean, I think, and I said this.
Flames tied it up. Sorry, Dieter's. We got the Dietermeister filling us in here. I like it. 2-2. Like this game's for sure going to be like 4-4, 5-5. And it's
I actually think Vegas is going to win this game. I think you're right.
Probably
because Vegas is like a 5-3. It's going to be a 5-3 Vegas final. No, but the other guy, Ezzy, and we've all been saying this is not something new, but like Dillon Samberg should not be coming out of this lineup. I mean, there's no reason for him to be out of the lineup. He continues to show you. I mean, he made a couple of real nice blocks. He's getting it, and he's showing. I mean, if you look at the eye test proves that Dillon Samberg is an NHLer. The analytics prove that Dillon Samberg is an NHL player, and he's a guy who shouldn't be coming out of this lineup. When you've got the left side, Jets left side is fine. Josh Morrissey, Brendan Dillon, Dillon Samberg doesn't need to be touched. Right side, not so much. Milestone game for Dylan DeMello, I should mention. He played in his 200th game with a Jets jersey on his back. So where does the time go? Dylan DeMello, he played in number 200 but ultimately this is a Jets game that was probably winnable by the home team. They played well. They had their chances. Jeremy Swayman was excellent. The Bruins, again, are just a very good team, and they show you what depth can provide. And Adam Lowry, there was a quote about that Bailey put up. I didn't get a chance because I went on a little tangent about the defenseman. But, I think one of the things that, he said in the quote, and I'm trying to find it quickly, but was just this idea that they're giving up. Oh, here it is. It's really disappointing. We need these points. They're so critical right now, and we're almost scoreboard watching every night right now. Well, they don't have to worry. Maybe they just asked Drew for the scoreboard because Drew loves to scoreboard watch on this show, Ezzy, and the folks are all helping as well. But, I mean, it is true. I mean, you're now focused on Nashville losing. And we talked about this. This is such a squandering of what the Jets did, all the good work in the first 30 games to build themselves this reserve, and it's gone. And it's been gone for a while. And look, I mean, just think about how precarious this situation would be had you not done what you did in Florida, because there wasn't a lot of expectation that the Jets were going to do what they did. And because of what they did, they've got a cushion. You don't get, if you only win one of those games and you lose to Carolina and then you lose to Boston. And I'm not saying it's not going to get a little bit easier. You don't have to face Jordan Binnington, so you don't have to bring your boxing gloves to the game in St. Louis on Sunday. But this is a Jets team that could be in a lot more of a dangerous position.
The margin for error, Dave, is what you're talking about is razor thin, right?
Yeah.
That's the margin for error against the Bruins is razor thin, but just the margin for error in general with teams that are chasing you. And even though the teams chasing you aren't very good, and they're not really taking advantage, like it's not like the Predators or the Predators were hot, a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even though you're going to play, the Arizonas, and I think they have another game against Anaheim, right? Like they have some games against some bottom 5 teams, but we've seen the Coyotes beat the Flames, right? Like we talked about it. The Hawks have won games against teams that, like the Bruins, that you didn't think they would win with their AHL roster, right? So
that's right.
Even though the Jets have an easy schedule, look, and nobody knows what's going to happen. That's the beauty of sports, right? Like nobody knows.
Why we watch the games.
Exactly. But I mean, I would be a little bit more concerned if it was a better team that was chasing the Jets. And the Flames are good, don't get me wrong, but it just seems like the Flames never, like they're just so inconsistent that they win 2, lose 2, win 1, lose 1, that type of thing, right? But the game on Saturday, we didn't 3 or 4 weeks ago, we didn't think, we weren't circling the Jets and Predators Saturday afternoon game, as if that was going to have major playoff implications, but it is. I mean, the Jets, that's the proverbial 4-point game, right?
Absolutely. And so ultimately, Ezzy, the Jets see the empty net, the puck go into the empty net. Although I have to mention, Ezzy, before we go to break and before we end this recap, got to give a shout out to Cameron Hughes. Cameron Cheers, as he's known on social media, who always brings the excitement. He was in the crowd. I
didn't see him. I don't know if they showed him, but I didn't notice. I always get a chuckle when they show him, but maybe that was just, I was putting the kids to bed. So you might
have missed it. But as you know what, it's reasons like that you're lucky you have me around, because of course I didn't miss it. I posted it on the Illegal Curve Twitter account, the Illegal Curve Instagram account, the
What
Illegal
about
Curve
TikTok?
the Illegal Curve
Yeah.
TikTok account.
We're
for
growing
you,
that
Ezzy.
TikTok. Talking
I
about
did.
planting seeds in the spring. We're planting. We've got a few. You've been posting some videos.
Yeah, I
Our
mean,
TikTok is growing slowly.
I need Bailey to give me the advice as to what I'm doing
Yeah.
wrong, but the TikTok is
Yeah,
whatever.
we're way too old. We need the youth like Bailey
Yeah,
to really
yeah.
show us what's going on, because we don't know, Dave. I mean, we're part of the legacy media.
Good one, Ez. So anyways, we got Cameron Hughes, who, if you don't know, he's kind of an entertainer. He comes in, it's actually a pretty cool story. He's a guy from Ottawa, and he essentially has created a career of getting the crowd riled up, and he does a great job.
Getting free tickets to hockey games, which is pretty awesome.
I mean, it's not more. He gets paid. He gets paid to come to these events, and he goes all over the world. He doesn't just do hockey. He does all sorts of sports. He's got a really cool. Darwin Moore is asking, who's Cameron Hughes? Well, Darwin, if you have that question, go on the Illegal Curve Twitter account or my IC Dave one. Go on the Illegal Curve Instagram.
He's basically like a super fan that travels around to different sporting events, and gets
but he wears he'll wear like 10 t-shirts, and then all of a sudden he'll just get the crowd clapping, and
Darwin's seen him for sure. He might know. Darwin might not know his name, but he's definitely seen him before, because
he's been here before.
He's been around for a long time. He hypes the crowd up and just has a good time.
He's a hype man, but the point is that he's turned it into a career, and he's having some fun. So if you haven't seen it before, it's a lot of fun, and we've got it posted. Anyways, Ezzy, so that is how the game ends. Jets lose 3-0. Do you want to break down the empty net?
No, I'm good. I think we can head to break and then come back and give out some more merch and a toque.
All right. Well, let's before we head to break, let's thank our friends at Betway. The Betway game recap is brought to you by, Ezzy, no surprise to you, Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please, Ezra, please play responsibly.
Always.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Again, you're listening to the Illegal Curve postgame show. I'm your host, Dave Manuke. He's my main man, Ezzy Ginsberg. We're having some fun here on the Illegal Curve postgame show, as are you, hopefully. Everyone's enjoying themselves. While we head to break, while I get ready to hit the button to send us to break, what are you going to do? You're going to smash that like button. Maybe leave some comments on the YouTube page. Go on the podcast. Leave a nice little comment. Phyllis just did, but that's already February. We can use some March comments, folks. So go on the iTunes, go on the Spotify, drop a comment for ICSEG, IC Dave M. Oh, actually, it's just IC Dave, and not Mendel. And we'll appreciate it. So we're gonna head to break, and then once we're back from break, we'll have some more hijinks and God knows what else.
Tomfoolery.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsberg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I am sitting in the host chair. I'm on the left side of the screen, maybe the right side of the screen, depending on your perspective. Doesn't feel very comfortable.
If you're watching the show on your phone or a laptop and then you're holding it up against a mirror, I guess I might be on the left.
There you go. But anywho, I'm Dave.
Or if you're in one of those like fun houses and you've
Yes.
got like, those types of mirrors, then I have no idea. We might be like, you might be on top of me. I have no idea.
Inverted, reversed. Yeah. Anywho, I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. You just joined us for some Jets and Bruins discussions. The Jets lose ultimately to the top team in the NHL, 3-0 game, a little bit closer than the score might indicate. And Rick Bowness after the game, this courtesy of our friend Ken Wiebe, indicated, and Bailey the intern had already posted this in the chat, so maybe some of the folks already know, but I'll just say it for those who are who didn't catch it. Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to travel with the team to Nashville and St. Louis. The Jets are scheduled to practice tomorrow in Winnipeg and then fly to Nashville, and they'll take on the Predators. That's a 1:00 start on Saturday, so you're gonna have a busy morning on Saturday as you start your day. The Illegal Curve morning papers. That's 7:00 in the morning. Then you have a little bit of time for coffee, maybe a little breakfast. You join us at 9:00 for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. 2 hours of Jets and Moose ice talk. And then you have a little time to enjoy your Saturday afternoon, have some lunch. And then you join us for the Illegal Curve postgame show. And then the Moose and the Wolves play, and you could watch that game, and then you could, Saturday's going to be busy.
The Moose are still on the road, though, for that game, right?
Yeah, 2 more road games for the Moose, and then they're back home. And then Crazy Dave M's Moose ticket machine is going to be left on, and I've got tickets to give away for upcoming Moose games. So it'll be good times for that. And as any final thoughts about the AEW? I didn't get a really feel. Did you end up putting
Lots
Remus?
of fun.
Did you put Remus through the? I talked to Carter Chen. He said he was in the
Carter there. Yeah,
he was in the press box tonight. He was sitting beside me, and so he was telling me that he saw that he was. I think he was on TV. Said it was a good time. And what were your thoughts overall about AEW wrestling and all the Winnipeg connections to it? It looked good. Right. I was out at Joey's. I was with a buddy, and we were watching the basketball game, but they would show that periodically.
Did you see me with my shirt off trying to get on camera? I'm not sure if you saw that, Dave, but we had great seats. Thanks again to the Huss Man for taking me to AEW Dynamite. It was longer than I thought. I went with Huss to WWE Raw 3 years ago. And this was 4 hours actually, because they do, before it goes live, they do they call them dark matches for an hour. And then they did a taping for, I forget what the other AEW show was called Rampage, maybe. So they do an hour of that. But I mean, this was all about, not all about, but it was mainly all about Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, right? Who is one of the best wrestlers. I mean, both of these guys. If you follow pro wrestling, and not everybody does, Dave, we were talking about this the other day. Like, I've loved wrestling since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, back in the Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Bret Hart days, right?
Yeah.
But Kenny Omega, I mean, what he's done in his career, like over in Japan and everything like that. So there was a 9-person, I guess, 3-way tag match. Okay. And Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega were on separate. I'm not sure if you caught that when you were watching out at the bar that you were at, Dave, but so it was amazing because you had Jericho and Omega going at it with each other, and obviously they're good friends, and in real life, this is wrestling though, and then they were working together, right, even though they were on separate tag teams. So it was awesome. That was the highlight. But you've got John Moxley. I mean, I could go over a bunch of the names. I'm not sure how many wrestling fans are in the chat watching right now, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we had a great night. And the crowd was really good. I'm not sure if it was a sellout, but it was packed.
Perry, security guard Perry told me that there were, I think, close to 9,000 in the crowd. So I think
that's what I heard. I heard around 8,500, right? So that makes a lot of sense because they only had a few top 300 section, only a few sections, I should say, open in the 300. So there was a few people, but as you only have. You're with an event like that, you can't fill up the arena with 15,000 people, right? Just like most concerts, to be honest with you. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was great. Like the Winnipeg Sports Talk boys, like they've always done a great job of promoting, Chris Jericho. And, I'm not sure if you saw, or everybody in the chat saw, or listening on the podcast for that matter, that the street that he grew up on in St. James, I forget the name of the street, but they renamed it Honorary Chris Jericho Way. He was just getting, I mean, AEW was on the front page of the Free Press today. So it was just awesome. Like, again, wrestling's not everybody's cup of tea. And even though I'm 40 years old, I like it, right? I'm not going to just pretend that I don't like it. So it's one of those things. And you see, the greatest thing I think about wrestling, like I hope to take Ruben, a couple of years from now when he's a little bit older, but you saw a lot of families there, like right in front of us. There were a couple of kids that were probably 6 or 7 years old. Like, there's a lot of like 30, 40, 50-year-olds, but there's also a lot of, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds there. So it was a lot of fun. And as you said, I mean, there's a big Winnipeg presence, Manitoba presence. Got to give out a shout out to the real Don Callis as well, who went to Kelvin.
Well, hold on. So hold on. Beep, beep, beep. See, this is why I love the chat. And you're wondering to meet yourself, as you have no idea why I love the chat. But I'm about to.
I know exactly why you love the chat, because we got great people that participate in the chat.
I know you know that,
Nation, baby. We got lots of great people.
But read this comment by our friend T Shu. T Shu says, "True story. I pulled a young Chris Jericho Irvine out of a trash compactor at Zeller's back in the day when he was working as a stock boy."
Wow. I feel like T Shu needs to be like on the show right now talking to us about that. That is hilarious. Yeah, like the thing is, like, Chris Jericho, obviously his real name's Chris Irvin. Dad Ted Irvine played in the NHL. Everybody knows that. It's really, but I mean, Chris is a Winnipeg boy. Like he's just like everybody else, right? Like he went to high school at Westwood.
Yeah.
He took the same program that I did at Red River, Creative Communications, right? I think he didn't. I remember interviewing him when I was doing an internship with the Winnipeg Sun, and I think he didn't finish the Crecom program. But like, he's a guy that, I imagine he was a really good hockey player, just being the son of an NHLer, right?
Yeah.
And he just loved wrestling. Like it's famous, or well known, I should say, that, he idolized guys like Bret Hart and Owen Hart, and went to Calgary. And then he just kind of built himself up, did the local thing, went over to Japan, WWE, WCW, and now AEW. So, I mean, he's an incredible success story. Again, pound for pound, he's not the biggest guy, but he's one of the best technical wrestlers of all time for sure, along with Kenny Omega.
And as he just answered your question, it's Woodsworth Way, according to Weaver. So thank you, Weaver, for giving us the.
I knew it. I remember it started with a W, but just awesome. I mean, he does. He deserves that for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, it's nice to see that people, it's more, look, he recognizes where he's from, and he does a lot of stuff with the Jets still, and he
always embraces Winnipeg. He always wears Jets jerseys. I love that about him. Not that, like some people, move elsewhere and they, become more a part of that city, but Jericho has always waved that Winnipeg flag.
Yeah, as he Kenny's water bottle says, as he took creative
you, Kenny.
communications, it worked. As he definitely communicates creatively.
I think I communicate creatively. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, as do you have a tough duck hardest hitting comment, or should I do the?
Oh, I got a little sidetracked here.
Okay,
I
that's
thought
okay.
I had one. Hold on.
That's okay.
Give me 2 minutes, Dave. Let's do maybe the IC merch contest.
Well, hold on. What can we?
and then come back to me.
Hold on. What can we do with 2 minutes of time?
Moose Minute.
What could we do with?
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minute Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Oh, Ezzy, that's what we can do. We can talk about the Manitoba Moose and their road trip, which continued yesterday. In Rockford, they got a couple of guys back. Dominic Toninato, who, of course, had welcomed a new baby into his family. And so congratulations to the Toninatos. I don't remember. I think they had I can't remember. I'm not going to speculate because I don't remember exactly what they had, but they had a new, they welcomed a new member of the family to their family unit. And of course, Christian Reichel, who was day-to-day, he was back in the lineup as well. So the Moose got a couple of big additions back in the fold, and it helped. I mean, Henry Nikkanen, the Jets 2019 fourth rounder, a player I always say pay attention to him. He's big. He can kill penalties. Modeled, remember, Ezzy, when we talked to him in the summer, says he models his game after Mikko Koivu. So Jets would be happy if he turned into that. He scored his 5th goal of the season to open the scoring. And then after Rockford tied the game, Dominic Toninato, he scored his 14th goal of the season to give the Moose a 2-1 lead, which is the lead they held until about 20 seconds in one of the periods. I think it was the second period, where all of a sudden in the blink of an eye, it went from 2-1 Moose to 3-2. Rockford tied it. Then they took the lead. Moose, of course, because this is what they do. Unlike the Jets right now, the Moose are able to force comebacks. Sorry, that was in the second period. And then Jansen Harkins from Declan Chisholm and Leon Gavanke on a 5-on-3, as no surprise, the 3 D-man unit. You know, the Moose like to run that when they have a 5-on-3. 2 of those 3 guys set up Jansen Harkins. So he scored his 15th goal of the season to tie the game. And it was a cool thing for Leon Gavanke, the 2017 5th rounder for the Winnipeg Jets. He got his 100th AHL point with his 2nd assist of the game. He had the primary assist. He fed over the Chisholm pass over those 2 play. They're like PB&J, those 2. They just know each other so well. Even though I don't like jam, I'm more of just a solid peanut butter guy, but regardless, it was 3-3. And extra time was going to be needed. The Moose had some great chances, including alternate captain Cole Meyer had a chance to win it. But it was Rocco Grimaldi, who, of course, he's a longtime pro in he's played NHL and AHL, and he won it for Rockford. So the Rockford Ice Hogs win it in overtime. The Moose dropped that game, but they got a point out of it, gives them 70 points. They're 2 points back of Texas, who are in first, 1 point back of Milwaukee. Texas actually lost yesterday to Coachella, I think, and Iowa lost as well. So we're doing some scoreboard watching in the AHL as well. But a couple of things worth noting that Jansen Harkins tied his career high for goals in the AHL, which he set in 18-19 with 15, but he did it in 40 fewer games this time around. And Dominic Toninato, he also in 18-19 had 14 goals, but he did it in 20 fewer games. So the Moose lost that game. They were off today. They're in Chicago tomorrow. They're going to practice in Chicago, and then they're going to take on the Wolves, who were the bottom feeder team, even though they won the Calder last year. But they're a bottom feeder in the Central. They've been on a bit of a run. So now Grand Rapids and Chicago are kind of in the worst position right now in the Central. But the Moose have a couple of tough games against Chicago this weekend, and then they're back home for, I think, 8 straight. So lots of Moose. Tyrell Bauer, I didn't want to tell T. Conapoli, Tyrell Bauer, boys and girls, he had a tough fight yesterday. He got into a fight. I don't remember who he fought.
Those knuckles might still be on ice.
Well, you know what, Ezzy? Like someone asked me, and I said he held his own. That's the way I described Tyrell Bauer, the 2020 6th rounder for the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know what T. Conapoli's assessment of the fight. I know you were watching wrestling. Those were some real knuckles being tossed around in the game. And I thought Bauer held his own, but he didn't necessarily. It was the first time I thought Bauer didn't come out on the winning end of a tilt, which is not, again, not something we've seen. This kid, tough as nails, first year as a pro. So I mean, he's not going to win them all, but
it'll be interesting to see how he continues to develop, right? Because he's definitely come a long way from kind of a rough WHL prospect, right, Dave? And he's still, what is he, 22 years old, late round draft pick?
Yeah.
Right. Still early 20s, right? So, he's a guy that obviously I don't think the Jets expect to produce a lot offensively, but, he's kind of that guy that, a couple of years from now, he might get an opportunity with the Jets, right? So, and he's tough, right? Like, I like that. Like, even though, fighting isn't as big of a part of the NHL anymore, I still, like guys that can drop the gloves. And wanted to mention one more thing, Dave, because you were asking me about AEW. One thing that was that I think you'll appreciate, because I know you know who Jeff Jarrett is. He's back in pro wrestling with AEW. What was weird is you're always waiting for the guitar to be smashed over someone's head, but didn't happen last night. So that was
really
I wanted to throw in there. Yeah, Jeff Jarrett was in a tag match, but he didn't smash the guitar over anybody.
There you go. Well, and for the record, Tyrell Bauer, as he is 21, he's turning 22 in, I think 21, and he's turning 22 in
to
a
be
week.
21 again.
Yes, exactly. And but you know what he could end up being. And look, it's early, and we're not going to pigeonhole any of these guys and say he's going to be this. He could turn into a Brendan Dillon type. He's going to have to work on some things, and we talked about it when we had Eric Dubois, the Moose assistant coach, who's right now a Jets coach, but generally a Moose assistant coach.
And hoping his son gets back into the lineup Saturday.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And but the point is that you're the hope for the Jets. He's big, he's mean, and he plays with an edge. He's something that I think Jets
That's what people said about you, Dave, by the way, when you played.
Exactly. So I do think that, Tyrell Bauer is the kind of guy, look, he's going to have some things he's going to have to work on, his skating, some of his decision-making, but as you said, as a first-year pro in pro, he's a first-year kid in pro hockey. He's got a long way to go, but he's a nice little prospect who's earning more time. I mean, he's kind of platooning right now with Simon Lundmark, the 2020 second rounder. So 2019 second rounder, sorry. He was in that Ville Heinola draft. But the point is that they've kind of evened out a little bit. So Bauer's getting into some more games, and Tico Napoli's loving it. That's all I can say. Nice kid. So we'll see how his development continues with those Manitoba Moose, who are chugging along as they are chugging along. So that's your Minute Moose Minute. Folks, that was a little bit more than a minute. I think that was a few minutes, actually.
It's all good. It gave me time to I had to go back. I sent you the tough hardest hitting comment.
Way back.
Well, I had to go back a little bit because there was a few, there were a lot of good comments, but I had to go back to earlier in the broadcast to find my Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. And I don't know if Dave has it up there.
I'm gonna put it into the chat, and I'm gonna bring it up.
There you go.
Because I'm too lazy.
We're giving
to
it to Running Man.
There we go.
And Running Man will probably be happy to know that I have three different times I've actually participated in the Manitoba Marathon Relay, usually the shortest leg. And this last time I had to stop and walk a couple times.
There you go.
Hey, I still did run whatever it was, 5-6 kilometers, something like that. So we're going to give him the comment here. Jets had chances on the power play, just couldn't break the Bruins PK, Boston PK. Would have been nice if Connor would have scored instead of hitting the post. Jets had chances, just didn't bury it. And really, I think Running Man nailed it there. This was similar in a lot of ways to the Carolina game, right? Like the Jets played a good game against one of the top teams in the East/NHL.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds like I've been saying this, and we have been saying this, Drew as well, everybody, Kenny and Rennie, everybody who does the post-game shows, right? Like it's been just, not good enough, like just no finish. The chances are there. The Jets are getting the shot volume, everything like that, but no goals. So Running Man, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com. You will have to tell me your real name, unless it is in fact Running Man, which would be amazing, especially if you were a runner. But yeah, send me an email with your mailing address, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you, and maybe you can wear it while you run.
Hey, exactly. It looks like we're not quite in line for some super warm weather until next week, so the toque will come in handy for Running Man. So congratulations to Running Man. And remember, if you join the Illegal Curve postgame show and you watch the Illegal Curve postgame show, and that, for the record, if you want to win that contest, you do have to participate in the chat, Ezzy. You do have to. So even though we said you can subscribe and not chat, and you can still subscribe and win the Illegal Curve merch contest, if you want to win the IC Tough Duck hardest hitting comment contest, that requires...
Yeah, we have to be able to see you.
That, in fact...
you have to be visible. You can't be invisible.
It, in fact, requires a comment.
Yes.
That's what we need. So It's Snaku is saying that the toques are amazingly warm. So let's.
They are. We don't mess around. We only got the best.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We
Actually,
only get the best for our chatters.
There you go. Well, and I forgot Running Man did win some IC merch. So Running Man's got a couple of things coming his way. So good for Running Man. Now, as IC merch contest, time to speaking of the merch that Running Man, even though Running Man just revealed his real name, but I'm not going to reveal Running Man's real name. That's his decision to do. He's like Batman to us right now. But the fact is, just to enter the contest, you just go to thelegalcurve.com. You go into the notes. And there's links to our Gleam page. It's also in the YouTube show. And you enter the chat, and there's a variety of ways to enter. You can just go to the website. You can go to watch a TikTok video, usually a Tyrell Bauer fight. Today, Cameron Cheers, dancing around, exciting the crowd. But you can go to those things. You can retweet us. You can follow us on Twitter. You can do a lot of things, gain entries, and win entries, I should say, for your chance to win authentic Jets merch. Like today's winner. Drum roll, please, Mr. Ginsburg. Ryan Trapp. I picked the easy name, of course, for me, because when Drew does it, I'm like, come on, let's give him a spicy one. But Ryan Trapp is the winner.
That name seems familiar. I think
Really?
probably in the chat and Twitter, but yeah, that name definitely seems familiar.
Well, let's hope that Ryan's in the chat. But even if Ryan is, it's actually funny to me because Andrew, who was our winner last show, I emailed him and he sent me a big message saying he was excited, but he said, of course, it's the show I didn't watch. And I think that happened to Philip as well. Philip, who's out in Alberta, he didn't watch the show that he won, but that's the beauty of it. I still send you an email. And even if you remember, guys and girls, if you haven't gotten your merch, ask Phyllis. She'll attest to the fact that, and Tracy, she's also gotten merch. I do deliver the merch eventually. It's just taking me a little bit of time because, of course, with taking on the responsibility of this, with all my other responsibilities, probably not my smartest decision, but I wanted to get folks the merch.
My favorite is, by the way, when Phyllis says what she has for dinner, or she says what she makes for dinner. That's my favorite. I'm not sure if I missed that earlier in the chat because I obviously don't see every single comment. It's tough to keep up. But yeah, I always find that funny. Good to see Spency. I didn't see Spency earlier, so hopefully Spency's having a great Thursday night, even though the Jets lost. And we're happy that he's tuning in with us.
There you go. Now, Ezzy, remember, if you want to be a winner like Ryan and all the other winners, then you have to enter, well, to get 10 bonus entries, I should say, because you can, I just gave you a variety of different ways to enter. But one of the ways you can enter is entering the unique code word. Unique code word for today, Ezzy, do you want to guess?
Code word for the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
Or the city of Boston, I guess. I think you're going to somehow incorporate cheers into here.
I did last time, so I didn't do it this time.
Okay. I don't know. We were in Boston after the 2014 draft in Philly, Dave. So I should, have a few more things.
Like Harvard, the Paul Revere Hotel.
Harvard, that was a nice hotel, right? They had.
I could have in honor of
Wu-Tang party.
As in honor of Wu-Tang, I could have done Lowell House because of the movie How High.
Yeah, but Wu-Tang's from Staten Island, New York, though.
I know, really but remember in the movie How High, they go to Harvard.
I actually have hold on. Show and tell with Ezra. As you know, I'm a big Wu-Tang fan. I have the Wu-Tang manual right here.
Wow. Well, I actually thought we were at a Wu-Tang concert tonight, Ezzy, because there was so much black and yellow.
It's funny.
I thought you'd like that.
Not ha-ha funny, but just funny.
Yeah, I don't care. As long as I get acknowledgement that it was funny. I don't need a high course high.
I think I'm going to Wu-Tang with Laura, by the way, Drew's wife. Apparently that's who I'm
I think you were until you made some sort of bizarre comment and then you creeped out Drew and Drew
said, going by myself. Yeah, just like I did when I lived in Montreal and went to go see Audio Slave by myself at University of Quebec, I think. Because I loved them so much, nobody would go with me. Soundgarden was my favorite band of all time, and Rage Against the Machine, and Audio Slave was those two bands combining. So I went by myself and made some friends, had a few beers.
What was the last concert?
A couple cigarettes. I was 23.
What was the last concert? Oh, Comet. Well done. But we'll give Comet big ups in a second. Ezzy, what was the last concert you and I went to?
Oh,
and where?
Concert.
Yeah.
Have we ever gone to a concert together?
Just one.
Oh, yeah. New York Hammerstein Ballroom, Counting Crows and the Wallflowers with Richie.
There you go. All right. Good memory. We had to work at the snowplow for that one.
Years ago? That was almost 10 years ago. Wow.
Well, it was a 2013 draft.
That was a
wasn't
great
it?
concert. That was a really cool venue.
It was very good. Anyways, enough of I know everyone loves the Manuk Ginsburg.
Yeah, like who are you, Howard Manshine over here, Dave?
But, but I'm gonna go because Comet got the unique code word, so maybe it wasn't so unique. But I went with Big Bad Bruins.
Like it.
Big Bad Bruins.
They really are the Big Bad Bruins, though.
No,
That's
I know.
I think
it's appropriate.
They are very good. I would not be surprised if they go all the way and win a cup. Like Patrice Bergeron, man. Like you just watch that guy. Like he just does everything right. One of the best players ever.
Well, Rick Bowness had a funny story. I think Weber must be doing a story on Bergeron. So he asked him about him. And Rick Bowness talked about how, I guess after his first year, he was with the Bruins. And then his second year, he started in Providence. And he said Rick, I guess, must have scouted him for 5 games. And he said the 5 games he scouted him, he was the best player every game. And it's true. I mean, it's interesting, right? Like I'll remember like Jack Roslovic, the year that his last year in the AHL, he was the best player in the AHL. And I mean, it's hard for me to say that authoritatively because we don't really see the East. So I can't say what everybody in the East is doing, but I can tell you right now, Jack Roslovic
was leading the league in points, right?
Yeah, he was what he was doing was unbelievable.
Yeah. He was over a point a game, I think.
Yeah. Oh no, easy. But the point is that he was, it's funny when you see these guys in certain veins, and he just said, but I would say that Rosberg didn't dominate every game. You know, he was very good, but it sounds like Pasternak just dominated every single game. And that's a unique thing to do at the pro level when you're a 19-year-old kid, right? I mean, he was, I think 19 or 20 or whatever he was. And so him doing that is fairly exceptional. So anyways, that's the IC contest. We've given away the Tough Duck. We got to thank our friends at Seagram's. Ezzy, do you have what was your shot of the game?
Do we have a winner? No, we did the winner already. Sorry for the IC merch contest. I forgot about it. Ryan Trapp.
Yeah, Ryan Trapp was the winner.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day, Dave. It's almost 11 o'clock here.
The Jets are not celebrating a big win with Seagram's, but it's a staple of Manitoba's ODRs for generations, like Seagram's 83. So remember, folks, thank our friends at Seagram's by participating in some Seagram's specialties, if you will.
Since the Jets didn't score a goal, and I don't know if I would have one specific shot that stands out to me. I mean, Kyle Connor had, I think, 6 or 7 shots tonight.
Yeah,
I would give it to Zaka on the second goal.
Yeah. It was definitely a good shot by Zaka, and it was the knockout punch, if you will. Although it wasn't the game-winning goal, of course. That goes to Trent Frederick. But we're gonna give everybody in the chat the game-winning goal.
It's crazy that the game-winning goal was scored 50 seconds into the game.
That's true, it's a good point. Anyways, we of course thank you for wow. Tishu saying out loud what Ezzy and I were thinking. And for those in the podcast who are listening, Tishu saying
Tishu, the check is in the mail.
Show of hands. Anyone missing Drew? No one? Okay. Thank you, Tishu. I will continue to host. No, I'm just kidding. We love Drew as host. Drew does a good job of hosting. He's
just constant bloviating, and it's just, you know.
Oh, all right. Maybe we don't.
No, of course we miss Drew. Like, I don't know. Like my only theory is that he went to go see Cocaine Bear for a second time. Like, I'm not sure what he was doing tonight. Where else would he rather be, Dave, aside from being with us?
I can't imagine. Like, I mean, you know, who wouldn't want to spend, you know, time with us, which is what all of you folks are doing, and we appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. The next one coming your way Saturday afternoon. Sorry, there will be one Sunday. It won't be in the afternoon unless you're going by Ezzy's afternoon timetable. And remember, folks, hopefully your clock's an hour ahead. So now the day's a little bit longer time as you're getting a little more daylight.
Yeah, and I wanted to also get in, Dave, just before we wrap up here.
Sure. And
we thank the sponsors. We have one guest confirmed, Adam Vingan, who used to cover the Nashville Predators for the Tennessean, now writes for Sportsnet.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to him about the Jets Predators game on Saturday, but we'll also touch on the other playoff races happening in the Eastern Conference. And just wanted to get that in there. We'll have a Jets guest like we usually do at 9:30, but nice to have. We haven't had Adam Vingan on, I think, on this format since we went to this format after TSN 1290 abruptly shut down. So it'll be nice to have Adam on. He's a really good guy and super knowledgeable about the Predators and all things NHL.
There you go. So there, as he's giving you a little, what we call a preview of what's to come on Illegal Curve on Saturday. That's your place to be at 9:00 in the morning. Your place to be right now. Well, hopefully you'll go to Kenny and Rennie and join them. Tell them Illegal Curve sent you. Before you go to Kenny and Rennie, you just do what we always ask you to do. Smash that like button. Let us make sure you're subscribing. Smash the bell, the reminder bell, so you know when the Illegal Curve show is going to be coming to you each and every time. But of course, if you don't know, if you're ever thinking to yourself, I don't know when those guys are going to go to a little website called illegalcurve.com, your daily source for Jets, Moose, and Ice news. We'll always have that updated with anything with respect to these shows or, of course, the NHL, AHL, or WHL as the teams of Winnipeg. The push for the playoffs continues. We're going to, of course, end the show. Thank you, Frosty, for the reminder. Almost forgot. I was about to exit out and that wouldn't have been so good because we always have to say a big thank you to all of the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. They are Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses, Ezra, because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Ooh, it has been a long one. It has been a fun one, but we thank you guys and girls for joining us tonight. That is all for today's show, and have a good rest of your night, and we'll be back with you Saturday morning, 9:00 on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Peace.